Right, you're watching Breakfast Central now on Thursday, the 1st of July, 2021. That was last week. The Nigerian Senate passed the much-awaited, anticipated, and debated Petroleum Industry Bill, what they call PIB, with 30% of profits accruing from oil and gas operations by the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation, the NNPC, now to be set aside for exploration of oil in the frontier basins.
Now, the Senate, before passing the bill, met behind closed doors with the Minister of State for Petroleum. We have that Tim Perry Sylvia, and the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, that is NNPC, in the person of Melekari. Now, the passage of the bill comes exactly 13 years after it was first presented to the National Assembly in 2008. Well,
the number of years spells out how this has been long and drawn out. Now, we are now joined by International Upstream Petroleum Business Platform Advisor, 2011 winner of the award, annual Balmoral Award for Project. That's none other than Desmond Agboifo, and Dr. Nnemeka Biareri, who's also a regular right here on Breakfast, and he's an economist and political analyst and financial engineer and investment banker. To really break down this one, good morning to you, gentlemen, Dr. Biareri, and also Mr. Desmond. Welcome to Breakfast Central. First, gentlemen, we have been on this PIB since 2008, 13 years. Now, what are your thoughts on the passage that happened on Thursday? I'll start with you, Mr. Desmond.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nnemeka. I think it's a long overdue discourse nationally, and we must give the praise honestly to the government and of course with the Senate to be able to pull this very essential milestone in our history of our oil and gas industry. Of course, this reaffirms the oversight and supervisory role of the Minister of Petroleum driving policies. However, there are a few structural changes which was also emphasized, but all in all, I think it's a welcome development. Kudos.
All right, but Dr. Nnemeka Biareri, you're with us this morning. So PIB bill finally passed 13 years after. Your reactions first.
Very good development. Very, very good development. We must commend them for doing the right thing. There are a few modifications here and there that they need to do to also make it in tandem with the expectations of Nigerians and with the best practices globally. And beyond the PIB bill, we also need to go back and look at the fiscal regime that is created boldly in the Nigerian Constitution, now Constitution, to make the PIB work and to align with the fiscal federalism that is supposed to be the bedrock of our federal republic. We must also amend the 1999 Constitution to allow for resource control and other provisions that will make that industry to work efficiently and allow us to attract more investment in that industry.
Right. Now, Dr. Nnemeka, in the bill, in the passage of the bill, there is a portion there that talks about 3% for oil-producing states. Now, is there any justification for such an amount, 3% for oil-producing states in the new Petroleum Industry Bill? Dr. Nnemeka first.
Oluchi, to be very honest, I think 3% is even nothing compared to how we started. I want us to look back to the foundation of this country. Before the discovery of oil at Olubri, Nigeria was founded on a fiscal federalism, on a constitutional republic that clearly allowed for fiscal federalism and resources control. So the PIB bill that provided 3% for the communities does not yet align with the constitutional arrangement that was entered into by the founding fathers of this country, and which still represents the only constitution in this country that was agreed to by the constituent unit. It's a federal republic. If you go to the United States of America and look at the constitution of the US, of course, we modeled our presidential system of government after that. You will see clearly that the states and the communities control their oil resources and they pay tax to the center, just like the state of Texas and some other states that produce oil. So beyond the PIB bill, I feel that the communities and the regions from where these resources comes from must control at least 50% of the revenues coming from that region, and then they will pay as taxes to the center 50% of whatever that is accrued to them. 3% does not yet cut the ice. We must go back to the foundational structure of this country to align with the PIB. 3% to it does not cut it. Thank you.
All right, now, Mr. Desmond, do you share the same sentiment that 3% is not a justifiable percentage for the host communities?
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I must express my thanks to my fellow panelists on this discourse. If I even give my own very fair assessment of that, I think I need to also point something very clear. The 3% that is being passed is based on a lot of analysis and expert advices. Case in point, I was part of the discourse where the GMB has rightly gave some scenarios as to why the 3% was passed. Initially, it was 5% that was passed. And just to put that in context, 3% was based on few of these analysis, which I will share. So based on that, they've been able to come up with some scenarios where 3% comes to roughly about $500 million annually. And of course, they also pinpointed that across even 4.5%, which is about $770 million. So case in point, I mean, the reason why 3% has been passed, I mean, even from the House, we can appreciate the fact that this is just one of the icing on the cake. We also must consider other funds that are also put under the discussion. So you also have the midstream gas infrastructure fund, which is really aimed to support accelerated energy transitions globally, and of course to improve gas development activities. Right now, I mean, you'll appreciate with me that we're in the age of gas. I think the discussion should be a lot more a holistic approach to see what comes to the host community. So, I mean, they've passed the host community bill, they passed the midstream bill, and of course, the bigger one is the frontier exploration fund. I mean, I think we should look at it from a point of view that all of these funds are not just really to better the lives of the host communities where the oil is being produced, but also in the interest of the national economy. So in my own fair analysis, it's still open for discussion, but I would think for now, because we're still very much new in this season, this is just 1 week into the passing of the bill, 3% would work for me for now. And then, of course, there have been a lot of agitations from the South-South Government Forum and other interest groups. But I think it's something that we should even deliberate even further. So for now, I think 3% should stay as is.
All right, Desmond Agboy for fair point, but I want to come to Dr. Enemeka on this one because you mentioned about the agitations even from the South. Dr. Enemeka, we've seen the declaration of 10% for oil-producing states by all South state governors in Nigeria. Will this, enable the Nigerian lawmakers to adjust their earlier 3% for the oil-producing states? And what would that perhaps mean? We know that we're just still 1 week into the PIB bill, but this is a strong one from the South governors, 10%.
To be honest with you, the major challenge we have in Nigeria is that we'll keep on addressing the symptoms and not looking at the root cause of our problems in this nation. Nigeria, as of today, based on our demographics, based on the huge resources available to us, both in terms of human resources and natural resources, should be nothing less than a $5 trillion sized economy if we are doing the right things. But we continue to pinch here and there without looking at the foundation. Take us back to the root cause. Where were we between 1959 to 1966 when we had the golden era? Resource control is the only way out of this. You do not tell a person who owns the resources how much he will get and how much will come to the center. Nigeria is not even, sincerely, Nigeria is actually poor when you look at the oil and gas reserve that we have and even what we produce from the oil and gas field. Kuwait, as tiny as they are, over $750 billion that they've set aside post-oil era. And here we are talking about a resource that does not even contribute up to 6% of our GDP. The only way out, whether 10% or 3%, we need to treat the foundation. The PIB is an offshoot of the 1999 Constitution. That is why we want to address it. We have to go back. Let us devolve powers and then bring about resources control. Let the South-South region control their resources. 50% of whatever is produced from that region, whether gas, whether oil, whatever, should go to the regions and to the center. Right? We said about 30% of the NNPC limited profit should go to the frontier basin oil exploration, whatever. Have you forgotten that before the advent of oil, how did we fund oil exploration in Nigeria? I'm from Imo State, I'm from Oki local government area. There is no drop of oil in my zone, in my local government or my zone. But I am of the belief that the only way we can grow this economy, the only way we can reset this country, to make it competitive,
all right,
to bring excellence, and remove all this kind of what politics we play around in trying to allocate resources, is for us to go back to the basics.
okay,
We tweak the physical and autonomous framework of this country to make it work.
all right.
If we are convinced in Okigwe zone there is oil, we have to provide the physical framework to drill oil.
And there's also the argument about refining and exportation and reporting. But I think.
But I have a question for Mr. Desmond. Now, Mr. Desmond, you just from what you said, I mean, you're of the opinion that 3% might be enough. Let's look at some of the statistics that we've had from some of the major oil companies in the Niger Delta region. Now, from the year 2014 to 2018, one of the major oil companies gave a report that they lost about 26,000 liters or barrels of oil in that region. Now, that's equivalent to about 4.1 million liters within the space of 4 years. Another major oil company from the year 2011 gave a report that they lost over 110 barrels of oil. Now, that's about 7.5, I beg your pardon, 7.5 and 11.5 million barrels of oil within 2011 and 2018. Now, if you put this in, if you want to bring this to a more realistic pictures, this is over 7 Olympic-sized swimming pool barrels of oil that has been lost within those timelines. Are you still of the opinion that 3% might be enough to cater to the pollution that may have occurred from the spillage of these oils?
Okay, thank you. I think you've made some very strong, interesting points. When we look at the whole economy, I mean, I want to draw a parallel into my fellow panelists and also the point that you raised. But let me start from his own point, because I mean that will set the tone. The oil and gas industry, I mean, I have worked in Nigeria and also have worked in Middle East as corporate advisor, and even I've worked in OPEC also at some studies. I mean, let's look at the industry in context. Nigerian reserves stands around maybe 40 billion barrels or so. And look at the cost of production. I think this is where we have to get it really clear. Our cost of production in Nigeria depends on the size or on the location, if it's onshore, offshore. Averagely, I mean, we can say it hovers maybe around $40–45 a barrel. It depends on where you're looking at the discourse. But of course, looking at other very, very much buoyant oil countries like the UAE and even the Saudi Arabia, they hover around one digit, maybe $8–9 per barrel. And again, look at the production per day. All of these points that I'm trying to make is, as a country, based on our numbers, we are 200 million people by population, and look at the value of production that we're producing. But taking into consideration that right now we are hovering around 2 million barrels per day maximum production, including condensate and all that. The plan is really for us to look at it in terms of the next big picture, which is, of course, trying to drive our reserves to 40 billion barrels and even pushing our production per day to about 4 million barrels per day. All of these really requires a lot of investment at the frontier level. Now, the exploration business is a very risky business. I heard you say clearly that Shell's exploration programs, where oil is found. When you find oil, of course, I'm sure you're aware of the fiscal regimes and all that. It's only when you find oil that you are in business. Every fund you spend are part of the risk involved in the business. So, I mean, to answer your questions clearly, I would say the 3% it should stay for now. But again, the case in point is that there will be some additional discourse where the government and the stakeholders, and of course, and these oil producing communities should come to a roundtable dialogue and really understand why they should even push even further. Now, let me even round up with this point. The issue about the accelerated energy transition, which is really to improve our carbon footprint globally, it's also part of what we should consider long term. So, case in point, the gas flaring penalty, which is being ring-fenced, for just the host communities, all with the aim to stop gas flaring. That's not to say gas flaring should be an alternative to drive government revenues, but it's also a way to ensure that we expand our gas base. As a country, we do maybe 178 TCF of gas. We are a gas-driven economy as opposed to oil. So I think we should look at the whole big picture and stay all in focus. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Desmond Agboefo. But before we let you gentlemen go, now the bill has been passed, after 13 years. Some people will say, oh, thank God, positive. So, but what next? Do you see President Buhari, assenting to this bill? And how soon can, you think this will be? I'll start with you, Dr. Nnemeka, before you go.
In 2018, it's on the down. Let's hope that he will sign it into law. So that, like my co-panelist stated, let us, maybe if he signs it from there, we will now keep on pushing. But like I said, we started, but until we address the foundational issues about the physical environment in Nigeria, we'll keep on limping.
All right. Desmond, before you go.
Okay, yes, I think, of course, it's been passed. I mean, thank God for that. I think what is even equally important is for us to even ensure that there is fairness and transparencies in this industry. The oil and gas industry is key to Nigeria. And of course, we must also ensure that there's a lot of political leadership and commitment to effective implementation of these policies as it's been put forward. Far from the very, very complex inactivity that has been for years, I think the focus is for us to work towards reinventing the NNPC to a commercial enterprise that is anchored on merit and excellence and even very, very, very focused professionalism. I think with a lot of these things put in the picture, I think we'll get there.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time on Breakfast Central. We hope to have you again very soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.